This project is just going to be a quick video on an upcoming engine that I'm doing here. I just picked this up the other week. I'm still waiting on some parts for it. But it's an Athearn ready to run P42 in the Phase 4 scheme. Out of the box, the first thing I like to do with these is get rid of the factory ready to run motor. These motors are suitable for some projects, however I feel like there's a lot better performance using a Kato motor. So this is just a quick video on how easy it is and relatively cost efficient in swapping to using Kato motor. So the first thing you want to do is after you have the shell off, which you do have to be very, very careful, especially with these little ladders right there. Very, very easy to break taking off the shell. I actually broke two of mine, but fortunately I'll be able to glue them back in place. Also, you want to get rid of the Athearn ready to run board that sits on top of the motor. And I'm going to be getting rid of all of the incandescent lighting that's in the inside of the shell here. So that's all getting ripped out and then being redone, which I'll cover in a future video. So the first thing you want to do is you just flip it around to the bottom side, and there's actually 4 little screws right here. You just simply undo those, which I've already done. And then basically the motor just kind of lifts out. And that's really about it. Now with the Kato motor, it's not a direct drop-in because this kind of has these little brackets that sit on the bottom here, and they go into the actual specific tray that's for Athearns here. So a company called A-Line makes a plate. It's kind of like an adapter piece that will allow you to fit either a Kato motor, or some people use the Meshima motors. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But basically this just has a curved surface here, which matches the contour of either the top or bottom side of the Kato motor here. So it basically is something that you can just glue in place to that, and then this little piece just simply sits right in there. Now the issue with this is that it's actually not quite high enough. So when you initially sit this motor in here, the flywheels are hitting into the body. So how I overcome that, just take this out of here, is I just made these 2 little plates here, which are 25 by 25 millimeter. And those just sit in the bottom there, and it gives me just enough spacing to push that little weight plate up here. And then you just reinsert the hex shafts back into the motor. But when it's in there, let me get this out of the way here. But the idea is after you do that, then there is enough clearance that the flywheels can spin freely without hitting into the shell. And the overall length of this is actually just a tad longer than the factory. So the stock shafts here fit right into these, and it's the exact same type of hex drive, so that's really all you need. The material that I use to make my little spacers is just your plain old sheet of styrene here, which I just cut to 25 by 25 millimeter to fit down into the bottom there. And pretty much the only other thing that you'd want to do is to make sure that these motor leads here are all isolated from the metal chassis. That way nothing grounds out, because this is a DCC install, so I'm not picking up any power for the motor off of the chassis. That's going to come off straight to the decoder. So that's really all that you need, and what I use to finish it off is just regular old tester's glue here. You can use this. I've also used liquid nails with some success. I usually like to use a harder type of glue to go from the motor to this little plate here, but either or works just fine. And that's really all there is to it. And then once this is on here, I'm just going to do a piece of 2-sided tape here on the top and affix a lock sound board to the top, but that'll be coming up in a future video. So some of the part numbers that are with these, that's the part number to the E-line weight little part there. And I'll also post a link to where I found the Kato motor, which I just got from modeltrainstuff.com. So I'll post a link to that as well. But that's really all there is to remotor in one of these. It's a super simple job, and there's a definite performance increase in both in terms of less noise and a much smoother drive. It's also a less power-consuming motor than what the original motor is. That's all for this video. There'll be more of this one coming up when we start doing some of the lighting effects and also getting into the sound.